Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 2 of the Matt and Matt O-Scale Train podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rochford, and with me is...
Matt Suzuha, your other co-host.
How you doing tonight, Matt?
Oh, pretty good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm excited to talk about this, and I'm kind of sad to talk about our topic
Me
tonight.
too. I absolutely agree.
And just so everyone knows, our topic today will be MTH is closing their doors. They'll be closing in 2021, and we're going to talk about the closing, how it's going to affect the industry, MTH trains that we have, how we feel about it, and just some other things too as well. So I'll go ahead and start it out. So I'm going to read the MTH post about Mike Wolf retiring. So, and this was made on, June 8th. So, Columbia, Maryland, June 9th, 2020, MTH Electric Trains President Mike Wolf has announced his retirement and the closure, of his business effective June 1st, 2021. Below is the text of his announcement sent to MTH Electric Trains Authorized Retailer Network on the evening of June 8th, 2020. So, obviously, he sent this out the night before he announced it on the website. So, June 8th, 2020, dear loyal MTH customers, first, on behalf of MTH Electric Trains, I want to thank you for the support and encouragement you have shown my company over our 40-year journey. From humble beginnings and a lot of hard work, we were able to build one of the world's largest model train manufacturers, one unquestionably buoyed by your unwavering support. In particular, I'm proud that MTH has released more models than any train manufacturer in the history of the hobby. The variety, quality, and infusion of technology throughout our offerings allowed MTH Electric Trains to help bring enjoyment to all who share our wonderful hobby. It is therefore with mixed emotions that I tell you I've decided to retire in 2021 and close the business. The last two MTH catalogs, our 2020 Volume 2 and our 2020 HO catalog, and all non-delivered items from our 2020 Volume O Gauge catalog, 2020 Ready to Run train set catalog, 2019 to 2020 S Gauge catalog, and 2019 to 2020 G Gauge catalog will feature the last products produced by MTH Electric Trains. The new items featured in all these catalogs will be available beginning summer 2020 through April 2021, and will carry our limited one-year warranty supported by our authorized service center network and the MTH service department. Upon our closings in May 2021, our ASC network will provide warranty coverage through April 2022. A list of MTH authorized service centers is available on the MTH website and will be updated as MTH authorized retailers join the program over the coming months. MTH Electric Trains would have not enjoyed success without the support of the MTH authorized retailer network. While traditional retail has changed significantly over the past decade, the independent hobby shop has been and continues to be the most important cog in our distribution train. I truly appreciate the support and friendship that these shops have shown MTH. I wish all of them good luck and prosperity in the years to come. Finally, I want to thank all my employees for their hard work over the years. Most of them have been with me for decades, and their loyalty and talents were paramount to our success. With thousands of tools and molds and wealth of intellectual property, a new model railroading company may arise from my former company as I entertain various options and buyers. One scenario is a new company organized and owned by members of my current staff. Their decades of experience, work ethic, and creative talent will ensure success regardless of who owns the assets, while providing a welcome bridge between the 40 years and the future. The remainder of my time will be busy as we clear out our inventory and other miscellaneous items accumulated over the past 40 years. As that process evolves, we will be offering consumer and retailer purchase opportunities. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your loyal support for all these years. Mike Wolf, President, MTH Electric Trains. So, yeah, very bittersweet. I think the most surprising thing is it just kind of came out of nowhere.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Nobody had any idea. Like within the first 10 minutes of the announcement, I threw up something real quick on my channel, basically going stupid. It's like nobody knew. The employees didn't. The employees found out hours before we found out. It's like, holy cow. I mean, I can't believe it. I still can't believe it. It's been like 2 months. You know what I mean?
No, I completely read you too. I that was just the one thing that I didn't think was going to appear on my O gauge. I think I saw it in the O gauge forums. I
Yeah,
was just
that's where I
all of a
found it.
sudden there was a yeah, all of a sudden there was a post that said MTH closing, and I'm like, okay, what is this? Is this like a joke or something? And then I click on it, and I'm like, are you kidding
Me
me?
too.
Like,
I thought it was a joke too. And then I look, I'm
yeah,
thinking, no, this ain't no joke. And whoa, boy,
yeah,
it's like a
I,
it's like a 15-page thread on the forum. We'll link it down in the show notes. But it's can't believe it.
yeah. So just to kind of give some history too, that uh, Mike Wolf started assembling and selling trains like when he was like 12 in 1973 for Williams Electric Trains. So I was born in 1973, so he was out there selling trains as a 12-year-old in 1970. That's where he's only 12 years older than I am, but.
Wow.
Um, and then he started producing reproductions of vintage trains manufactured by Lionel Corporation in the early 70s. And then by 1980, he was operating his own mail order business selling Williams trains and parts out of his own bedroom in his parents' home. And then I believe he bought or Williams decided to get out of the O gauge. So he like bought all their tooling. And from there, it kind of went on. And he did some stuff for Lionel, and then there's some trouble there, and with some licensing stuff, he branched off on his own and just created MTH Electric Trains, and man, there's just there's some great products by MTH, and I really hope that somebody buys the company or the employees take it over because there's just in the note that I read before. I mean, they were right about like offering the most unique trains in the industry. Like it's true. Like he does. I should say he, but MTH does so many localized trains. Like small, like
Short line
little yard
railroads.
trains. Yeah, just railroads that like Lionel will probably never do.
Mm-hmm.
MTH is like, sure, we'll do that. Well, there's a market. Somebody out there likes that railroad. We're gonna go ahead and do it, even if we just produce, I don't know, 500 units. We're gonna make it. And that was the one thing that really kind of like brought me to MTH. Was more or less all of the localized Chicago stuff because I'm a big fan of Metra. I'm a big fan of CTA subway trains. I have my share of both. I have like five CTA subway sets. I have two F40 Metra engines. I have a couple of E8 Metra engines. And obviously those things will never be sold ever. Now that I know this is happening, I know early on, K-Line did make some Metra, a Metra F40 engine. But that was that Lionel has officially never made one themselves, and I don't foresee them making
I
one.
guess they're
So,
trying to get the license from Metro, but I guess we'll
oh,
find
they
out.
are.
Yeah, when they did
Oh,
their F40s, God, when was that? Like 16, I think. Whenever they made
yeah.
those, I guess they were going to say they're going to try to do Metros sometime down the line. So who knows?
Well,
Maybe
they
we'll
have the
see
tool.
it.
They have the tooling, right? Oh man,
That would
dude,
be cool.
I would love to see because those M-Track F40s, Legacy F40s are awesome.
Oh yeah,
Man, if they could turn with the sound set in there with the Metra engines, that would be impressive.
hmm I absolutely agree. And then like for me, I'm New York fan, so the MTA Subways. I mean, holy cow! You talk about a market. I mean, MTH, if they could have a whole market just in the subways alone, be it CTA, MTA, whatever, you could have a market just in the traction stuff.
Yeah.
You really could. And then, like you were saying, to mention some of the models. I mean, like for me, my uncle, he has the CNW E4 Hudson. What a model! Holy smokes! That really is a great piece. He had his upgraded to a Proto 3. It's an amazing engine. Then there's other pieces too, like around my area, the PL&E A2 Berkshire. That one comes to mind right away. Lionel's never touched that. There's a lot of
Yep.
things that are MTH only. Like you and I are talking about the subways. CTA, nobody's done CTA except for MTH, as far as I know.
As far as I know, MTH is the only one that's ever done CTA subways.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And as far as MTA, Lionel's done 3 subways, but they were back 2009, I think was their first one, which I have, and then they did 2 more in 2010, and that's been it. So for the past 10 years, we've had 3 subways from Lionel. And I'm not going to count the M7s; those are different.
Okay, yeah. I know they had Lion Chief ones come out, but yeah, for if we're counting like actual full-fledged, legacy,
The good
command
stuff.
controlled subways, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised they still have the tooling. They haven't I don't know. I maybe is there just not a high demand for subways? And I mean, we could have an entire, and I'm sure we'll
Oh
have an
yeah.
entire episode about subways
Hmm.
in the future here at on the Mad O Skill Train podcast, because we could talk,
Oh yeah, we could
we
have a
could
whole
talk forever
episode
about
just on
subway
subways.
trains. But I don't know. Is there just? I mean, I see people ask about it all the
Me
time in
too.
the forum about like, hey, Lionel, when are we going to get some subways? So
Mhm. I guess they're reworking them, kind of like they're reworking the Acela
okay.
to improve it. But I guess time will tell.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it. So
Me too.
I'm really like, and I don't know about you, but I've been really kind of um my fingers have been itching on some of the CTA stuff that's still out there that I'm like, oh man, should I buy this or oh man, I don't know. I mean, I did buy it. So the last CTA set I bought, I bought the big blue CTA, with the big blue oval. It says CTA on the ends of the cars, and that was from last year. Um, and I bought that set and the expansion set, but now I'm kind of I don't know that the pink line train.
That pink line set's
Kind
really cool. I'm thinking about going in for that eventually.
Yeah, that kind of has me kind of thinking. I'm like, it's if if CTA doesn't, if nobody else ever gets a license, and this is definitely MTH's last hoorah. I'm never going to be able to buy, this stuff again. Not that I really need another
Yeah.
CTA subway set, but I love subways, and it's one of those things. And I have my own in my layout. I have an entire raised elevated track just dedicated for subways. I can only run one subway up there at the moment, but that's I wanted a subway elevated line on my layout, just because I just think they look cool, and even with the CTAs being Rail King line, um, they look great. They sound fantastic. The sound sets they put in there are just like you would think you're on a CTA train with the announcements and the stops are all correct. And I just started putting. They're easy to put figures in. I just started putting figures in my blue set. I already finished one car, and I'm going to finish the rest of them. You open 4 screws and the thing comes off, and you know, you could takes you like 10-15 minutes to do a car. So pretty easy stuff.
Oh yeah, and like likewise for me with the New York City. You got the New York City stops, and the guy who did the announcements, Dennis Shore, he actually passed away. I think back in November, I think it was. So, but he's no longer with us. But they got a guy who's just as good, if not better, doing the announcements. But those sets, likewise with this CTA stuff, awesome stuff. Whatever section of the America you're in, for subways, you got whatever you have. If you're New York, Chicago, they do the trolleys. You got Boston and any city you really want, they got a trolley for you. So I really think that that's going to be the biggest thing that I'm going to miss is all the subway stuff.
Yep. Yep, I agree. I do have a streetcar. I have a PS3 St. Louis City of St. Louis Illinois terminal streetcar, but it's Illinois terminals based off of St. Louis. in St. Louis. So all the stops are St. Louis. But I love that little streetcar. And I have a trolley. I have the Christmas trolley from a couple years ago. I kind of wanted to get another trolley. They didn't make a Chicago trolley, but they do have a couple other, like New Jersey, and they got a couple other different locales in there that I might think about picking up.
Cool. But getting off the transit stuff, because we'll have a whole nother episode of the podcast on
Definitely.
transit stuff. But as far as other models, I just got in the other day a No Fucking Western J from the 90s, 1997 to be exact. And wow, what a model. That thing, when you look at and see back in the 90s what kind of craftsmanship they had way back then, and you look at now, it's amazing to think in the 90s what this was like. I mean, I was born in 99, so this was before my time, but I could only imagine being someone in the 90s and seeing all this scale revolution of all the scale stuff that we know today coming into fruition. I think it's just so cool. That engine, I love that thing. It's great.
I saw it on your YouTube channel. I commented too. It's fantastic looking, and it sounds like, I was like, wow, that's Protosound 1. I'm like, that's pretty good. And a nice smoker too. That thing was smoking up a chimney.
Oh yeah, it's
So
great. And plus too, those older engines, you want to talk about build quality. I want to see a new engine today that was built like that was back in the 90s. That engine, I would much rather take a dead or even a working Proto 1 and convert it to a Proto 3 or a TMCC Legacy, whatever you want. I would much rather do that than go spend $1,400 on a new one today. I would much rather spend, let's say, $600 on the engine and maybe, $300-400 for a kit, so $1,000 all in for a new old stock engine, I guess, if you want to call it that. That's what I would do any day.
The one thing I noticed too, even with the older MTH and the older Lionel, like around that 2000 era, that there's a lot. They put a lot of details. Like I have a Santa Fe E8 from 2003. I have the ABA. It came as an AA, and then there was a B unit, but I have the 2000 and I think it's 2002, 2003. But it's TMCC, but the level of detail, like it has fans on top that spin. Like actual motor spinning top fans to simulate, the exhaust fans on top of the I'm sorry, did I say E8? I apologize. Elco PA. Yeah, I have the Elco PA set.
I want that one.
And yeah, it just like in some of the older MTH stuff too, like the amount of detail they put on that thing is remarkable compared to like some of the detail you see now. It's almost like back then their tooling was the same, but they spent a lot of time making sure that the details were accurate, and then they put a lot of separately added detail onto these engines. So
you can tell a lot of thought went into them. I mean, not that there's not thought put into them today, but it seems like back then they had a lot of thought put into them.
Yeah. What was the do you know what the cost of your J was like back then? Like in 1999?
Let's see.
I was curious.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
I want to say it was like 1,000 or something, but let me look.
That's not bad then, because I mean, seeing that's about pretty much what they kind of cost now, right? So
let's see. $999 even.
Okay. All right. So really, like, pricing really hasn't changed all that much. I mean, I think PS3 steamers now, Premier steamers are like what, maybe 1,100 or so,
something like that. I'll pull up the new J just for comparison. Now the new J, it also has the smoking whistle in it. So, which that's kind of a cool feature.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have here. Let's see, they are $12.99.
Okay.
So I mean, really, for a 20-year difference, $300. That's the price of a PS3 kit. So
Yep.
that's really not too bad.
Now I don't have a older I do own a PS1 um uh MTH set. I own um the Rail King Burlington Pioneers Zephyr
Oh, that's a
4-car
cool
set.
one.
Yeah, I bought it on eBay like I don't know 8 years ago, 7 8 years ago. It's from like 2000, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just PS1, no command control here. But I couldn't run, I couldn't run MTH's Premier set or Lionel's because they wanted they all had like really huge curves.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love that. I'm I was hoping, really hoping that in the last couple of years, and I even I think I even put something on their Twitter, and I even made a note somewhere in the Oak Ridge forum several years ago, that hey, can you guys make a PS3 Pioneer Zephyr Rail King Pioneer Zephyr set?
That would have
So
been cool.
that was really hoping, yeah, for us with the smaller, they had the tooling for it, obviously,
Yeah.
so obviously they could make it, but that's okay. I'm gonna hold on to it. I don't, I don't really have all my stuff is command controlled, so I'd have to hook up like a throttle to my layout to run it and stuff like that. But still, definitely worth it. If I have to, if I want to run it, I can always throw some track down and put a little, throttle up and just do it myself. But yeah, I really like the even the older MTH stuff is just great.
All right, so you're talking about MTH. I think one of the things we definitely should talk about is the command system, DCS.
I agree. I agree. I am big fan of DCS. Different from uh TMCC and Legacy enough that it kind of set itself apart. The biggest difference, obviously, is that DCS was talked both ways,
Mm-hmm. Bidirectional communication.
which was kind of cool because you could check your remote, you could see how many miles were on an engine, you could get diagnostics, you could. I remember, like, am I getting enough voltage? You can hit a button and see if the voltage, if the DCS signal was high enough. Um, Very, very cool. Like, I thought that was really, really cool that that you could go both ways with the DCS system. I think it opened up a really big avenue for being able to do a lot more things than you could on the TMCC side, which unfortunately, if you want to do still, even Legacy doesn't, like, the Legacy system doesn't have, it's not both ways, it's still one way. But you can put the Lionel control system tracks and stuff on your layout, and you can trigger stuff that way, but it's still not a true two-way communication.
It's not quite the same. They tried, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's definitely not there yet.
Yep. But yeah, it's let me see if I can find the DC, unless the DCS calendar, like when it was
I think it was started in 2000 and came to market in 02, something like that.
okay, and then so that was Protosound
2.
1. Okay, so 2 came around 2002, you said?
2 was 2000. I actually have their very first Proto 2 engine they made was a Pennsylvania Railroad E6. And
Okay.
so that was their very first. It's in one of their catalogs. That was the very first Proto 2.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm.
And then 2000, and I'm going to guess, like, what was it? 2012 is when Protosound 3 came out?
Well,
Is that about right?
technically, Proto 3 started in HO, and when they started in HO in 2004, and it started to come into O scale. I think 2012 was fully in the line. I think around 2010 it slowly started. It started with Premier Steam, then the Premier Diesel, and then it went to Rail King steam and diesel. Now it's in everything, or was.
Oh, I did not know that it started in HO.
Hmm.
That is new to me. I didn't realize that. Of course, I'm not I'm not into HO, so that's surprising that I didn't know that. But that's curious. I wasn't aware of that. I have I have still my some of my subways are Protosound 2. And I still have a couple of Protosound 2 engines, and they're they're fine. I love the fact that when MTH did it, like and one of the great things, I should say, like one of like the top 5 things that MTH did right is that they took all of their engines and said, guess what? We're just going to put Protosound 2 in everything, no
Hmm.
matter no matter the level. If it's a tier 1 for kids, if it's a tier 2 for the enthusiasts, or if it's a tier 3 for the the hardcore model railroader, we're going to give everybody the same command system, and then make it easier for everybody to get into it and understand, and so that way people can get into it, and they can buy the DCS system, and now they can just buy whatever level of trains that they want. Something that I really was hoping that Lionel was going to say, you know what, we're going to put legacy in everything. Although Team CC is legacy is technically Team CC, it runs on a different bandwidth, but it's technically the same thing, I guess. But I always kind of wish Lionel would do that and make it easy. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things that about DCS that MTH took, is that they really made it simple for people to get into it and say, look, you bought our DCS system. Guess what? You can now buy any PS2 or PS3 equipment, and you're good to go.
No, I absolutely agree. Like with Lionel doing the Lion Chief stuff, as nice as the Lion Chief engines are for their sets, they talked when the Lion Chief system first came out, they talked about having a staircase that goes from Lion Chief directly to Legacy. Well, they still haven't built said staircase yet because Lion Chief, you still cannot run it with your Lionel Legacy or Team CC system. It's its own dedicated remote or the universal remote, and that's it. No conventional even. It's that own remote, and that's it. So, as far as MTH goes, like you said, when you buy a ready to run set, you have Proto 3. You can run it with its own. Nowadays, they have the little Wi-Fi thing that it comes with. But if you get the
Mm-hmm.
full-fledged DCS, you can run that same train. It's not obsolete. You can run it 20 years down the road if you want. Which
Yep.
is just that's fantastic.
Yeah. The only thing that at least now that they're doing, the only thing that you can do is run Bluetooth, because they're putting Bluetooth in everything. But that's not the most efficient way to run your trains.
No, and
It's fine, but it's not a command system, right? I mean, I don't even know like how you would even can you run? I don't think you can even run multiple trains.
well, I mean, you can have multiple trains in the app, but you can't like do like a lash up like you do in command. You can't do
Right,
that.
exactly. Yeah, you can't do any advanced stuff. It's just like, well, pick a train on your layout. You're running that train right now.
Mm.
And then if you want to run the other train, well, you're gonna have I don't I'm not I, don't quote me on that. I'm not for sure. I'm not sure if you can swap like start up a train with Bluetooth, start it, move the throttle, have it go, and then switch to another train, and then went on Bluetooth and start that one up too. I'm
That
not 100%
that
sure
you
if that's
can do.
possible. Oh, you can.
Yeah,
Okay.
like you can have
Okay.
like I think you can have 3 engines in the Bluetooth app at a time, but
Okay.
you can only control one at a time.
Right.
If
Okay.
you get what I'm going on.
Yep.
But no, I agree that DCS is hands down the way to go. As far, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Legacy. I mean, I love everything that Lionel does, but DCS, as far as user friendly, I really think it's the way to go. And this Wi-Fi system that they have, I don't own it. I want to get it, but my uncle has it, and I've used it. It's fantastic. That remote just goes to dust when you run the Wi-Fi.
I have the DCS Wi-Fi, and I have I've had it now for over 2-3 years, and that's all I use. I do not even pick up my remote anymore, my DCS remote. I am 100% using the app, and I love it. And I mean, just to go back on the power of DCS, the one thing that DCS can do is you can not only run your MTH trains, but you can also run your TMCC and legacy trains,
Mm-hmm.
and you can do it. You can use the remote, a handheld remote, and you can use the Wi-Fi remote as well.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi app to run. So DCS can run everything,
Mm-hmm. You can do conventional too.
whereas that it was very 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 universal when MTH got that out. They basically made it powerful so it kind of worked with everything, you know, which was, I think, very very nice, and it allowed people to have different types of setups, but be able to um just easily just install the DCS system and have different, oh well, this train's Proton 1, so I got to run this one with Proton 1, which you can do with the app too.
Mm-hmm.
Um but this train's Proton 2 on this track, so I got to run that. I can run that one in command control, and it just allowed this, it was very powerful for what it could do.
Mm-hmm. And plus, not only can you do trains of any kind, you can also do switches and accessories too.
You are correct, and you can do that through the Wi-Fi app too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Whatever
yep.
you can do with the remote, you can do with the app, and it's really cool stuff. I really wish that with the Lionel, with their Wi-Fi, the iCab app, it's cool, but you
Yeah.
can't do everything the remote can do. Which, I mean, a lot of the features on the remote, there's some of them that I barely use, but
Yep.
it is nice to know that with MTH, everything you can do with that remote, although the remote is dated, you can do it with the app, and there's nothing that it can't do. I really wish, though, that they would have done a color remote like the Legacy remote, but what can we get?
Yeah, and just to kind of go back on your comment about Lionel's app, I do have that. I have the Lionel Wi-Fi system. It is not like the DCS Wi-Fi
Oh,
app.
no.
It is very convoluted. I don't dislike it, but it's number one. It's only available on iOS.
Oh, yeah.
So if
I'm
you don't have an
Android,
iPhone or an iPad, you're not running. You're not running. Now this is just for clarification. We're talking about Lionel's Wi-Fi app, control app, not the Bluetooth one. That one works on Android and everything. This is specifically their LCS specific Wi-Fi app, which again, it's just I've not gotten used to it. I've tried to use it, and every time I want to use it, I'm like, I'll just pick up my legacy remote, which I love. I love my legacy remote. I love holding it.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely, if I were to say like which two, did things right, I think Lionel definitely did the handheld right with their legacy remote, and MTH did the Wi-Fi application for smartphones right with their DCS Wi-Fi app.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the Lionel, I've tried to use it. It works okay, but I'd much rather pick up the remote.
Yep.
Although, like I said, complete opposite with MTH. I'd much rather pick up my phone. But
well, they came out with that remote in what, two at the beginning for Protosound 2, and they never
Nope.
changed it. So
the only thing they changed was the thumb wheel design, which when they changed it, it went from good to crap, as far as I'm
yeah, I remember.
concerned.
Yeah, I know that's been a big complaint with people with that little thumb wheel, which I agree. It's very kind of weird to use sometimes.
My uncle, he has the early version of the remote with the old thumb wheel. Oh god, that wheel is like touching silk. Oh,
Oh, really?
it's
Oh,
awesome. It
I
doesn't
didn't know
have
that.
any like weird space. Like the problem with the new thumb wheel, like on my remote, is that there maybe like a 32nd of an inch on each side of space. It's just enough to get the thumb wheel off track sometimes, and when it's off track, you got to replace the whole wheel.
Oh,
It's
jeez.
no fun. I've had it happen to me a couple times. It's like, come on. What can you do?
So let's just do something fun here. How about we what are some of your favorite MTH engines of all time?
Oh boy, of all time. Well, let me disclude the subways because that's its own thing. But as far as all time, like I said, I was 90s is my thing. I was born in 99, so any of that 90s 2000s stuff. Oh, if I had to pick my favorite steam or diesel, or does it matter?
Pick a steam, pick a steam, pick a diesel.
Okay,
How about
steam.
that?
God, probably either the E4 or the A2.
Okay.
Diesel. Oh boy. Okay, how about this? I'll pick an electric. How about the GG1?
Okay. All right.
The diesels. I don't know about diesels. Trying to think of something different. Diesel. Okay, we'll wrap a turbine. How about one of the turbines, like the big blow or something?
Okay.
Yours?
So for me, diesel wise, it would have to be my Metra F40. Without a doubt. Just it's so personal to me. I worked downtown for 8 years. I rode Metra for 8 years. Um, so that engine has it's very personal to me, and the one I have is actually my actual line that comes through my town.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because the stop randomizer and the things, the stop voice on there is random, but sometimes it will say this stop Elmhurst, which is actually my stop.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
I mean, like, how do you get better than that,
Yeah.
right? Like, what's all right? So to go back on favorite steam engine for me, I had an Imperial triplex, which now the tender drivers weren't motorized at all, but they did move on their own. But this thing was, I mean, for a Rail King Imperial version, um, was really really cool. It is, and it's one of the most detailed Imperial engines that I've ever owned. It was had a really cool whistle to it. So, yeah, that would be probably my favorite steam engine by MTH, because I don't believe any other company, any other model railroad company ever did the triplexes, as far as I know.
No, I
So,
know that you know, a friend of mine, DJ. He's been asking Lionel. He's been wanting Lionel to do a Vision Line triplex for years. So circling back to DCS, there's one really cool thing that you can do with DCS that you cannot do with Lionel, and it's awesome, and that is changing the sound sets on the locomotives. Now, it goes beyond just changing the sound sets because there's a program out there which is the ADPCM program, which for those of you guys who don't know ADPCM, that's a type of audio. And what this program allows you to do is it allows you to uh, edit the clips in the sound set itself. So there's when you open the program, you'll see a bunch of clips, and you can actually change each clip to be whatever you want. So if you want like a different horn in an engine or a different bell, or you want it to have more crew talk or change the crew talk or whatever you want to do, you can do that in this program. So the power of changing the sound sets is really, really cool. And whether or not you just pick a different one off the site or you make your own, you can have a ball with doing it. I know I love it. It's awesome.
I so I recently just did. So here's the situation that happened. When MTH released the last subway sets, Rail King subway sets, a lot of people were having issues with the sounds. They were just very low. I don't know if it was just low quality, but the voice, if you turned up the volume too high, the voice was very garbled. And MTH basically said, okay, we'll look at it. And they basically uploaded a new sound set. So if you search your model on the MTH Trains website, you can actually download the newest sound set for your particular engine. and I was able to take that sound set, use the MTH's loader set. You have to plug your one end into the TIU and then one into your computer, and you load up the loader, and then you're able to download and replace the sound set on your engine with the one that's whatever you downloaded for. And now the sound set on my CTA train is absolutely perfect. It's loud. It's absolutely clear. There's no distortion, no garbled. And that's one of the great things about DCS is that if you get something with like if the sounds are bad or if you need to reload because the sound correct me if I'm wrong, but that sound package, that's actually the whole actually information package for that particular model, like how it behaves when you press buttons and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So if you have problems, you just if sometimes you don't even have to send it in to MTH. You can just try to fix it yourself. And I've replaced a sound set in my because I have the MTH Holiday MTH Metro Train F40 as well, and I replaced the sound set in that. So I think this one has a little bit more holiday uh, PFA to it. And I've done Steamer in the past. So yeah, I love that feature where you could upload and download sound sets into it.
It's really cool, and it's one thing I wish Lionel would do, but can we do?
Yep. All right. Well, I think if you want, let's hit on one last um, kind of topic here about what we think the future of MTH is going to be, and maybe like what we what we think is going to happen and what we want to happen, obviously. And I'll let you go ahead and I'll let you go first.
All right, so I think that what's going to happen, I really think that there's going to be nothing. I I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but I really
Yeah.
think that when MTH is called it quits, that's it. They called it quits. I really don't think that. I know that the parts in DCS are going to stay. However, the way I think of it, I'm worried because if there's parts and there's DCS, but right now there's nothing to put them in. Right now, as far as we know, it's Lionel and third rail only as far as command, and they're both legacy slash team CC. There is no DCS anymore as far as we're concerned. So it's like, sure, you got the parts, but there's nothing to put them in. So it's like, what good is the parts if there's nothing to put them in? At least that's my thinking. What I want to have happen is I want to see Lionel buy out the items that they don't have, like the CTA in New York City subways, the E4, the A2, the engines they don't have. I would like to see them buy them and use them. Sure, we'll have legacy in them, but that'll be just as cool, if not better than MTH. Like if you have the old school MTH unit, let's say the E4. If you have the E4 from what was that, 2008 or whatever, and Lionel comes out with a legacy version, hey, why not go in for that too? So you have one of each, or whatever the case may be. But I really hope that Lionel is going to go in for at least some stuff that they don't have and make it really their own, as far as I'm concerned. So, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, so I think I'm on board with what you said. I don't you know I don't know how much Mike is asking or what he wants for the company, but I have a feeling that he's very going to be very particular about who takes over the reins. And I don't if the deal isn't good enough, I think he's just going to be like, you know what, we're just going to move on. I do know that there is a group that is taking over the DCS part, the command control system. I believe that was quoted and noted in the OGage forums, and I think that's. I've already heard people say that there are people that are going to make sure that the command system lives on, that it gets updated if it needs, if for that particular piece. But as far as the actual engines themselves, the tooling and everything else, uh, yeah, I have, my gut is kind of telling me that it just may just we may just see the last of these really cool, unique engines that we love. Now, What I would like to see, which, and again, anything is possible here, folks. Like, this is just an opinion. I think I agree with you, Matt. I think either two things: either A, Lionel come in and say, you know what, we're gonna pick up all of this tooling that we don't have, and we're gonna start making all this stuff that was popular on the MTH side. Because I'm sure Lionel knows what MTH was selling, what was popular, what wasn't popular.
Sure.
There's a lot of diamonds on the MTH tooling side. There is some great tooling there that they could pull off. Now that's the first thing. Number two is that somebody comes up and makes Mike an offer and says, you know what, I'm going to take over this company. We're going to keep it going. You retire with your millions of dollars, or whatever else, whatever MTH is worth. I don't know, but you retire, Mike. We're going to take it over and we're going to keep it going. And to me, that is the best scenario that I would hope for, because keep in mind, remember, like, having multiple manufacturers in whatever hobby you're in, having one, two, multiple, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, is a good thing for the hobby, right?
Oh yeah.
Because it helps keep costs down. It gives people options, and it's very, very healthy for the market.
Mm-hmm.
When you have one manufacturer who has it all, well, sometimes you get stuck, and now the pricing is, they can set their own pricing. They can be a little bit more strict with what they do. Again, I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but all I'm saying is the more manufacturers in your particular hobby, the better for the consumer. So,
Oh yeah. And real quick, let's just pick one engine that they both do. Let's talk about the aforementioned F40. Lionel and MTH both do it. Well, if you want the MTH with your passenger announcements that the Lionel does not have, again, like you're saying, options. If you want MTH with the announcements, buy MTH with the announcements. If you don't care, then get the Lionel. But you have choices, at least for now.
yeah, the only the only thing that Lionel offers that's a match to that is you'd have to have you buy the station sounds
Yeah.
car. That's not really an exact direct equivalent, because the great thing about MTH is, well, you just have to buy the engine, and you get PFA for passenger and freight. You don't have to buy any separate cars or anything to make things happen. Whereas Lionel, number one, it has that particular line, they have to offer that station sounds card, right?
Yeah.
So it have to be offered. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I love the PFA, especially like for my Metra and my CTA and stuff like that. Like, it really makes it very unique. Now that said, if Lionel came out with a F40 Metra, I'd probably buy it. I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I would pre-order it. I don't pre-order much, but I would 100% pre-order one. So
Sure.
because I'd love to see a Metro engine with Legacy in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I absolutely agree.
all right. Well, any closing thoughts, Matt, before we go to the end of the podcast?
No, I think that just this is just going to be a really weird couple of months here. It's May of 21 is going to be the end of it, and it's going to be a rough ride here. But I guess we just got to wait and see what happens. That's all we can do, really.
I agree. It's just one of those things that maybe we'll get an early Christmas present, and somebody will buy them and make all us MTH fans happy.
Maybe.
But, we'll see. But I wanted to thank everybody for listening. Again, this is our second episode. We're really happy to be doing this podcast about O-scale trains, which I think there needs to be a lot more O-scale train podcasts out there. We're going to come up with some great topics. We got all kinds of stuff planned for the future. But it's very important that, to leave us feedback, whatever system that you're downloading the podcast on, if there's a way to rate us, or leave feedback, please go ahead and do that. Let us know how we're doing. We want to make this the best O Scale Train podcast out there. And we're looking forward to more episodes. Matt, where can people find you?
They can find me on YouTube under Matt-Trainlover9943, and I also have a Facebook page under the same name.
All right. And I can be found at West Chicago Railroad on YouTube. And just so everybody knows, my next, I am working on the, believe it or not, the MTH North Shore Electroliner review.
Oh, that's
That is
awesome.
that is my next review. It should be up sometime within the next week. It is August 18th right now, so that should go up within the next week or so. Really looking forward to putting that on YouTube and see what people say about it, because I absolutely love that. Again, that's another Chicago early mass transit vehicle, but I'll go over that in the video. But again, thanks everybody for listening. And this is Matt with the O Scale Train podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care.